Hey there, drowsy historian here. Tonight, you're stepping into a perfect suburban world. It's the 1950s, a place of pastel houses, polished floors, and lawns trimmed to exacting standards. You're not a neighbor or a guest, just an ordinary housewife drifting through the rhythm of a day designed to be spotless and serene. Before we start, do me one small favor. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is there. If you prefer these stories without ads, you can join the Patreon. It's linked in the description. And if you want the ultimate immersive experience, consider using a pair of wireless earbuds. They're comfortable, discreet, and designed so you can wear them even while sleeping. I've linked my favorite pair plus other sleep tools in the description. Now, lie back, get comfortable. Let's begin. You wake before the alarm, as always. The clock on the nightstand glows faintly in the dim blue light. The thin hands balance perfectly between minutes that never seem to move. The room holds its breath with you. For a moment, the world is hushed, a still photograph of neat order and half light. The curtains tremble with the faintest morning draft, soft as a sigh. And you lie there listening to the silence you've spent years arranging. The air smells faintly of starch and lavender, the scent of yesterday's ironing. Somewhere downstairs, the refrigerator hums its low, steady note, the first sound of the day, the domestic heartbeat that never falters. It's comforting in a way, familiar, predictable. You could measure your life by its rhythm. When you rise, the sheets fall into their usual soft folds, still, warm from your sleep. You smooth them instinctively, the way your mother taught you. Palm flat, movement slow and sure, corners tucked with soldier's precision. Even the bedsheets you think must behave properly here. You move to the vanity where the mirror waits with quiet patience. Your reflection greets you, hair pinned from yesterday's waves, the faint crease of the pillow printed across your cheek like an unspoken truth. You brush it away, one smooth motion at a time until the surface looks untouched, until you look untouched. The brush moves through your hair like the ticking of a clock. You count the strokes without meaning to. The house remains silent except for you, your slippers whispering against the floorboards, the rustle of your robe. The faint metallic click of the bathroom light switch is almost shocking against the stillness. In the mirror's glow, you see the pale sheen of cold porcelain, the silver faucet polished until it nearly glows. You reach for the soap, the same brand you've used for years, rose-scented, wrapped in pink paper that feels too delicate to tear. Your hands smell like it now, soft, floral, obedient. Downstairs, you switch on the kitchen light. The bulb flickers, once before settling into its steady yellow hum. The counters gleam, every surface wiped the night before. Not a crumb or fingerprint in sight. The clock on the wall says 6:15. The world outside the window is a painting in blue and gray. Empty street, bare trees, a quiet so deep you could fall into it. You fill the percolator, measuring the water with practiced precision, counting spoonfuls of coffee as though they were prayer beads. The smell begins to rise, slow and rich. The sense of morning, of purpose, of what is expected. You lean against the counter, breathing it in. For a moment it feels almost comforting. Almost. The radio sits where it always has. A squat little thing with rounded corners and a smile of chrome buttons. You turn the dial softly until you find the morning voice. Calm, courteous, endlessly cheerful. Good morning, ladies. It says it's a beautiful day to make your home shine. You nod without meaning to. The voice is syrup smooth, carefully measured, too polite to ever admit it's lying. You take out the frying pan, the eggs, the bread. Your movements are automatic, precise. The pan warms, the butter hisses, and the scent blooms golden and rich across the air. You flip the eggs with care. Toast the bread until it's exactly the right shade, not too pale, not too dark. You set the plates, the cups, the napkins folded into perfect triangles. You step back and look at the table. It looks happy. You wonder if that's enough. Footsteps sound on the stairs. Slow, heavy, familiar. You straighten, your robe smooth your hair. When he appears in the doorway, you smile because that's what's expected. His tie is crooked. You fix it for him, your fingers brushing against his collar, your voice quiet. Breakfast is ready. He nods, thanks you absently, and sits. The newspaper unfolds like a curtain between you, the rustle sharp in the quiet kitchen. Headlines speak of progress, prosperity, the good life that's supposed to be happening everywhere. You pour his coffee, dark and steaming, and it fills the room with its faint bitterness. He reads aloud something about a new washing machine, about how technology will free women's hands for leisure. You laugh softly, the kind of laugh that doesn't reach your eyes. You've never been busier. He doesn't notice. He rarely does. You sit across from him, fingers folded in your lap, listening to the ticking clock. The radio murmurs behind you about a new recipe, about keeping your husband's heart through perfect pies and patient smiles. You sip your own coffee, lukewarm now, and nod along as though the voice on the radio can see you. When he leaves for work, he kisses your cheek, careful not to smudge his tie. You walk him to the door, the morning lights catching in his hair. He smells of aftershave and cert. Ain't he? The door closes softly behind him, and the sound echoes like a final line in a well-rehearsed play. You stand there for a while, hand resting on the cool brass of the doorknob, listening to the faint rumble of the car pulling away. The silence that follows is deep and familiar, the kind that fills every room like invisible fog. The house belongs to you again, or perhaps you belong to it. You walk through the living room, touching the polished surfaces as you pass. The furniture gleams, the drapes hang perfectly still, and everything smells faintly of lemon and dust. A photograph on the mantel catches your eye. Your wedding day. You both look so young, so certain. You stare at it until the smile in the photograph begins to feel like someone else's face. Outside, the neighborhood is waking. You hear a screen door creak somewhere down the street. A woman's voice calling to her children. The rhythmic clatter of milk bottles on a front step. It's a symphony of order. Each note familiar, polite, contained. You return to the kitchen, rinse the dishes, dry them one by one, line them neatly in the cabinet. The window above the sink glows with soft daylight now, the world slipping quietly into its prescribed brightness. As you wipe the counter for the second time, you notice a tiny streak you missed. You rub it away with the edge of your cloth until the surface shines again. You don't really need to, but it feels wrong not to. You pause, cloth in hand, staring at the flawless surface. The radio hums in the background. A woman's voice this time, soothing, certain. Happiness, she says, is a well-kept home. You nod again, slow, almost reverent. The clock ticks, the refrigerator hums, the air smells faintly of toast and lemon polish. You look around the perfect kitchen, your kingdom of order, your stage of contentment, and for a brief, almost guilty moment, you imagine what it would feel like to leave a plate unwashed, to let a crumb fall, to let silence be imperfect. But the thought fades quickly, like a secret whispered into the walls. The coffee has gone cold. You pour it down the sink, watching the dark swirl vanish into the drain. Outside, the first light of real morning has arrived, pale gold spilling across the linoleum, across your hands. You take a deep breath, adjust your collar, and step into the day. The house glows softly behind you, perfect as ever, perfect enough to hide the hollow echo of your own heartbeat beneath its hum. The house exhales once your husband's car fades into the distance. The engine's hum dissolves into the quiet, morning air, leaving behind only the faint rattle of the clock in the hallway and the whisper of your own breathing. The day begins again, not with drama, but with rhythm. You stand for a moment, in the doorway, looking at the kitchen. The room feels alive in a gentle, obedient way. Sunlight streaming through, the lace curtains catching the dust in the air like gold suspended in water. The radio murmurs from its corner, a voice low and patient, wrapped in a soft blanket of static. Someone is talking about the weather, always mild, always pleasant, always under control. You cross the linoleum floor, cool beneath your slippers, and the scent of toast still lingers from earlier, faint, warm, a reminder of motion. You turn the dial on the stove, and the gas clicks before blooming into that steady blue flame. You watch it for a second too long. The way it dances without moving, the way it consumes quietly. The kettle sits on the back burner already half full. You light another flame beneath it, the hiss of the gas, the clink of enamel. Every sound belongs here exactly where it should be. Even the smallest noises feel choreographed, as if the kitchen itself knows its part in the performance. You reach for the dish towel, fold it once, then again, then lay it neatly beside the sink. The morning light rests against the counters, tracing thin golden lines across the chrome handles and porcelain sink. Everything shines, every edge softened by familiarity. There is no rush, not really, but you move quickly anyway because the day expects you to. The radio hums louder, now, and a woman's voice begins to sing, a soft jingle about soap flakes and smiling wives. The melody is cheerful, enough to sound like an instruction. You find yourself humming along quietly, almost without thought. The kettle begins to sigh, a faint rising note that fills the silence between breaths. You lift it just before it boils over, pouring the steaming water into the waiting basin. The cloud that rises smells faintly metallic, like rain on tin. You reach for the dishes from breakfast, only 3, but they clink against each other as if performing applause. The water is hot, too hot, and the first touch burns a little. You don't pull away. You've learned to wait until the heat dulls to something you can bear. You wash slowly, the motion, circular, repetitive, almost ceremonial. Each plate gleams beneath your fingers. The soap bubbles catch the sunlight, small translucent spheres trembling with color before they collapse into nothing. You rinse, you dry, you place each dish back in its proper place. The order comforts you even when it feels like confinement. Behind you, the radio shifts to another segment, a cheerful host giving tips on how to keep a husband's affection. A well-kept home is a reflection of a well-kept heart, she says brightly. You listen with the faint, detached amusement of someone who has heard it all before. The words glide over you like warm water, familiar, unchanging, unresisted. Your hands are still damp when you open the bread box. Inside sits a loaf, wrapped neatly in paper, edge as crisp and brown. You take a slice and hold it under your nose, soft, sweet, faintly yeasty. You cut it evenly, butter it with a practiced motion, and place it on a small plate. You don't eat right away. You look at it for a moment, the way someone might look at a still life, the careful balance of color, light, and emptiness. When you finally take a bite, it's warm but tasteless. The flavor has long since been replaced by habit. The clock ticks steadily from the wall, a soft and constant reminder that time moves even when you don't. You wipe the counter again, though there's nothing left to clean. The towel leaves faint streaks that you smooth over until they disappear. A car door slams somewhere, outside. A neighbor's, perhaps. Then another sound. Laughter, high and brief, the kind that fades before you can catch it. You glance out the window and see Mrs. Lowell from next door. She's hanging laundry, her dress fluttering slightly in the morning breeze, her hair pinned just so. She waves, you wave back. The motion feels mechanical but polite. Her clothesline is full of white, sheets, shirts, a few small towels. They move in the air like quiet surrender flags. The radio changes again. The voice now belongs to a man. Confident, rounded vowels, a smile you can hear. He speaks of prosperity, of modern appliances, of the American dream that fits neatly between breakfast and supper. You glance at the refrigerator, your newest one, with the chrome handle and the rounded edges. It hums contentedly, loyal and cold. He remembered the day it was delivered, the salesman in his pressed suit, his bright grin, his hand gesturing like a magician revealing a secret. This, he said, is the future of happiness. You'd smiled then too. It was easier than disagreeing. The kitchen Timer rings suddenly, a clear, precise sound that cuts through your thoughts. You blink as if returning from here, far away, and realize you've been staring at nothing. You move toward the stove, turn off the flame beneath the kettle and pour yourself another cup of coffee. The cup is warm against your palms. The steam fogs your reflection on its surface. You lift it to your lips and breathe in the scent, dark roasted grounding. The first sip is bitter, but the bitterness feels clean. You sit for a while at the small table by the window. The chair cacks softly beneath you. Outside, the street has woken completely now, the milk truck passing. Slowly, a paperboy coasting by on his bicycle, the faint melody of someone's radio drifting from an open window. You look at your hands resting on the table. The skin is pale, the nails short, the faint scent of soap clinging to your fingertips. They are capable hands, beautiful hands. You wonder what they would do if they weren't always busy. The light in the kitchen shifts slowly, from gold to white as the sun rises higher. Shadows slide across the floor, tiles in quiet choreography. You trace them with your eyes until they disappear. Beneath the cupboards, the coffee cools. The air smells faintly of toast again, not real toast this time, just the ghost of it, still clinging to the air. You set the cup in the sink and rinse it, the water running clear and cold. When you turn off the tap, the silence returns, not empty, but full of small, familiar sounds. The faint buzz of the refrigerator, the rhythmic tick of the clock, the soft rustle of the curtains as they breathe with the open window. The kitchen hums alive with its own quiet intelligence. Everything here seems to know its place. The cups aligned, the chairs pushed in, the utensils gleaming in their drawer. You stand in the center of it all, still as a statue carved from routine. A small breeze moves through the window, lifting a corner of the curtain. It smells faintly of cut grass, of something distant and free. You close your eyes for a moment, letting it brush against your face, and for the briefest instant, it feels like the world outside is calling. But then the breeze passes. The curtain settles. The radio hums again. You open your eyes. The kitchen is just as it was, perfect, patient waiting. You hang the dish towel neatly on its hook. Take a breath and smooth the fabric of your skirt. The ritual is complete. And yet the day has only just begun. The faint thud at the front door breaks the hush of the kitchen. You glance toward the hallway, the sound crisp and expected, like punctuation at the end of a well-memorized line. Outside, the paperboy pedals away, his tires whispering over the damp pavement. You wipe your hands on the dish towel, still warm from the morning chores, and walk to the door. When you open it, the air greets you with a chill that smells faintly of rain and gasoline. The street glistens, still wet from dawn's quiet drizzle. Across the lawns, neat flags of laundry sway on lines, and sprinklers tick with military precision. You bend to pick up the newspaper, edges slightly curled, the ink already smudging faintly onto your fingers. The headline shouts about growth, about the booming future, about how lucky everyone is to live in this shining decade. You bring it back to the table, smoothing it flat with the palm of your hand. The paper feels thin and fragile, like something meant to be read and then forgotten. The smell of ink mixes with the scent of coffee, warm and bitter, drifting from the percolator. Steam curls upward, clouding your reflection in its silver surface. For a moment you watch yourself ripple and vanish in the metal sheen, a figure made of vapor and habit. Footsteps creak on the stairs above. You hear the soft scrape of a razor in the bathroom, the muted click of a belt buckle, then his voice calling down L, idly as though the morning always sounds the same. You answer the same tone you've always used, pleasant even. You pour his coffee, careful not to spill, careful not to break the quiet balance. The house holds between breaths. When he enters, the room fills with his presence, the rustle of his newspaper, the scent of cologne, sharp and faintly medicinal, the heavy certainty of someone who never doubts his place in the world. He sits at the head of the table, his chair pulled out just far enough to show it's his. You pour another cup, set it gently in front of him, and return to your seat. The paper crackles as he folds it open. The sound is dry and steady, the morning's hymn of authority. He begins to read aloud small pieces of the world arranged into neat columns of certainty. There's a story about new highways being built, about homes springing up where there used to be fields. Another about a woman winning a beauty contest, her smile printed in perfect grayscale, a photograph of soldiers returning home, a recipe tucked between the headlines, promising a modern meal for modern women. You nod at the right moments. You add sugar to your own cup, stirring slowly. The spoon clinks against the china in soft rhythm, a heartbeat of porcelain and pretense. He tells you that the world is changing fast, that machines are taking the strain out of life, that everything is easier now if you know how to be grateful. You look at the toaster gleaming on the counter, its chrome face reflecting the morning sun. It stares back like a small smiling mask. He asks, "If you're happy." It's a question that doesn't sound like a question. You answer before you think. Yes, of course, you are. The words are smooth, practiced, almost melodic. You've said them so many times that they no longer taste like anything at all. He nods, satisfied, and goes back to reading. The radio hums in the background. D, another voice layered beneath his, a bright announcer speaking about prosperity, about a future shaped by comfort. You wonder how the two voices manage to sound identical, the man at your table and the one inside the box, both reciting the same script from different rooms of the same dream. You sip your coffee. It's gone slightly cold, but the bitterness feels grounding. He doesn't notice. He rarely drinks his at all. It sits beside him, cooling. A dark mirror catching the edges of the folded paper. The light through the window grows softer now, filtered through the lace curtains. It paints everything with gentle gold. The neat rows of breakfast plates, the polished silverware, his crisp shirt collar. The scene could be a photograph from one of the magazines that tell you what happiness should look like. He clears his throat, folds the paper in half, and pushes it aside. "You should read this one," he says, tapping the headline about a new neighborhood being built on the edge of town. Modern living, it promises for families who deserve the best. You glance at the picture. Rows of new houses, identical roofs under an endless sky. Each house with a smiling woman at the door, her hand lifted in polite greeting, her hair fixed into perfect curls. Behind every closed window you imagine another kitchen like yours, another coffee cup cooling, another smile rehearsed. He doesn't notice the way you stare. He's tying his shoes now, reading a small article about the stock market. You rise from your chair, walk around the table and pick up his briefcase from the counter. It's heavy, the leather smooth and faintly cracked at the edges. You hand it to him, and he thanks you without looking up. When he stands, the chair legs scrape softly against the linoleum. He kisses your cheek, a brief polite gesture, careful not to disturb the morning order. His cologne lingers after he lay. Vez, mingling with the fading steam of coffee and the smell of butter cooling on toast. The front door closes with its usual gentle finality. You stand at the window watching him walk down the driveway. The newspaper still lies open on the table, the pages lifting slightly in the breeze from the open door. You see him fold into the world, another figure in a pressed suit disappearing into the quiet hum of suburbia. Outside, everything looks content. The sun sharpens on the hood of his car, on the clean white siding of the houses. A dog barks once and then falls silent. Somewhere down the street, a sprinkler turns in slow, glittering arcs. You close the door, the latch clicking softly into place. The sound seals the house again, as though nothing has ever left or entered. You turn back to the kitchen. The table waits patiently, half cleared. The paper still open to the page about happiness and progress. You fold it neatly, smooth its edges, and slide it aside. The surface beneath is spotless. Your reflection faints in the waxed wood. You watch it shift as you move, a ghost bending with each breath. The clock ticks, each second sharp and deliberate. It's not even 8 yet, but the morning feels complete. You gather the plates, the cups, the knife left near the butter dish. The coffee pot is empty. Now a faint ring marking where it sat. You wipe it clean with a soft cloth, careful not to leave streaks. Outside the window, the world hums with purpose. Men driving to work, engines starting, radio singing through open windows. Inside, the silence grows heavier, wrapped in the soft perfume of detergent and routine. You open the cupboard and place each cup in its rightful place. The sound of porcelain meeting wood is light but final, like the closing of a line in an unwritten sentence. For a moment, you stand still, fingers resting on the edge of the counter, feeling the faint ration of the refrigerator beneath your palm. The hum is constant, steady, a sound that fills every pause you've ever left. In the percolator, last curl of steam drifts upward, thin and almost invisible. You lean closer, watching your reflection blur once more. You smile at it, that perfect practice, smile that feels more like muscle memory than emotion. It holds for a moment, then fades with the steam, and somewhere beyond the curtains, another day begins to move forward, carrying you with it quietly, seamlessly, as though you were always meant to stay right here. You step out into the quiet brightness of the morning where everything seems to hum with a muted, orchestrated order. The street is lined with houses that look like they were copied and pasted from a single dream. Soft pastels, white, shutters, trimmed hedges standing in neat salute. The air carries the faint sweetness of cut grass and something else, something metallic perhaps, like the scent of stillness itself. You stand for a moment on your front step, smoothing the hem of your skirt, watching as the sun glances off the chrome of your neighbor's new Buick. Across the street, Mrs. Ellsworth is already watering her petunias, wearing a matching headscarf and apron. She looks up, spots you, and waves. Her smile is perfect, bright and effortless, the kind that seems to belong more to the idea of a woman than to a woman herself. You wave back, your arm lifts automatically, your lips pull into the right curve. It feels like choreography, a dance of cheerful acknowledgement that plays out each morning like a small-town symphony. The rhythm is familiar, a sequence of greetings, nods, and neighborly compliments traded through the gentle hum of sprinklers and the distant bark of a dog. The mailman strolls past, his uniform pressed and crisp. He tips his cap and you say good morning as though it were a sacred "Furra," say, one that keeps the world spinning in polite circles. You don't remember a time when you didn't say it. Somewhere down the block, the faint sound of a radio seeps through an open window. A cheerful voice announcing rising stocks, a new model of refrigerator, the miracle of convenience. The tone is always the same, bright, reassuring, certain. It tells you that the world is better now, safer, cleaner, more modern. The voice never waver. It's the soundtrack of the era, the hum beneath the illusion of perfection. You step off the porch, careful not to scuff your shoes. The pavement is warm already, sunlight pooling between the cracks. The world seems too bright, as if the sky itself has been polished. You walk slowly, letting your eyes drift over the identical lawns, the tidy fences, the polished chrome tricycles gleaming like ornaments. The air carries the low, comforting thrum of lawnmowers, each one starting and stopping in a rhythm that feels almost ceremonial. The sound merges with the rustle of skirts, the occasional clink of a glass picture being set on a patio table. It is the soundtrack of contentment, of lives lived in perfect formation. As you pass the Thompsons' house, you notice their new flag waving lightly in the breeze, red, white, and blue, the same colors that decorate every doorstep in this perfect little world. Patriotism has a fragrance here, freshly mowed grass, polished metal, and something faintly chemical like floor wax. You nod to Mrs. Thompson, who is hanging laundry. On the line, the sheets sway in the morning air so white they almost glow. She calls out that she's trying a new detergent, a miracle brand. It smells just heavenly. You nod, though you can't quite smell it over the crisp air. You tell her it looks lovely, and she beams as though you've confirmed the worth of her entire morning. Farther down the street, A group of women are haired near the corner, chatting softly. Each of them with hair perfectly set, lipstick precise, heels sinking just slightly into the warm sidewalk. Their laughter ripples gently through the air, light and even without edges. You approach, and one of them, Helen, from 2 houses down, turns and waves you over. "You must come to bridge night. This week," she says, her voice sweet and lilting. "We're doing something fun this time, trying a new gelatin recipe." You nod, smiling. "Of course you'll go. You always go. There's comfort in the predictability, the circular rhythm of it all. The talk of recipes, husbands, sales at the department store. These small moments fill the day as predictable and fleeting as bubbles in dishwater." Helen reaches out to adjust your collar just slightly, her fingers quick and precise. "There," she says, "now. You're perfect." You thank her softly, and she laughs, that same bright, hollow laughter that seems to echo through every kitchen window in the neighborhood. When you leave the circle, the sun is higher now, pressing gently against your back. The world feels both wide and very small, a perfect grid of sameness that stretches only as far as the next block. A car engine hums down the street, a smooth, gleaming sedan. You glance up as it passes, catching your own reflection for a fleeting second in its polished surface. For a moment, the face you see there looks unfamiliar. The light distorts it, bending the smile until it feels too sharp. Then the car is gone, and the reflection disappears with it. You continue walking past rows of identical mailboxes, past the slow rhythm of sprinklers casting perfect arcs of water. Each drop catches the sunlight, glittering like glass before falling into the grass. You find yourself listening to the sound, the steady repetitive hiss, and it feels like a lullaby, a sound that erases thought. At the end of the STR, there's a small park, more of a square patch of grass than anything else. A few benches, a swing set, a sandbox. Everything is painted white and pale blue. You sit for a moment on the bench, your hands folded neatly in your lap. Children play nearby, their laughter brightened and rhythmic. A mother nearby calls out a warning not to dirty their clothes. You watch them for a while, and it strikes you how even joy here seems rehearsed. A learned behavior performed with precision. A breeze stirs, lifting a strand of your hair. You close your eyes. The air smells of detergent, sun-warmed metal, and the faint trace of roses from the gardens nearby. Somewhere a screen door slams, followed by a man's voice calling for his wife. The sound is faint, but it ripples through the quiet like a familiar chord. You open your eyes and glance down the street again. Every house stands in perfect symmetry, every curtain drawn just so. The neighborhood gleams like a showroom display, a place where nothing unexpected ever happens. And yet, somewhere deep beneath the stillness, something hums, something almost imperceptible. A bird calls from a nearby tree, sharp and lonely against the uniform hum of sprinklers. For a fleeting second, the sound feels out of place, wild, untamed. Then it fades, swallowed by the rhythm of the morning. You rise from the bench, brush the wrinkles from your skirt, and begin the short walk back home. The sidewalks shimmer slightly now, the heat gathering in small waves. As you approach your house, it glows softly in the sunlight, the white paint almost too bright to look at. Inside, the air will be cool and still, the dishes from breakfast will have been washed, the radio waiting quietly to fill the silence again. You pause for just a moment before opening the door, your hand resting lightly on the knob. The sound of a lawnmower fades into the dista. The world exhales and you smile. The same practiced, graceful smile you've worn 1,000 times, before stepping back into the calm perfection that awaits you inside. The air inside the house feels still again when you return, as though it's been waiting for you, suspended between the faint echo of laughter from the street and the quiet weight of your own footsteps. The door closes softly behind you, sealing away the world's bright perfection. In here, everything hums at a lower pitch, as if the walls have learned to whisper. You place your handbag neatly on the counter, smooth the skirt of your dress, and stand for a moment in the middle of the kitchen. The radio is still on, a syrupy tune from a crooning voice that tells you love is simple and happiness can be found in the comfort of routine. The melody drifts like perfume through the air, too sweet to mean anything. You reach forward and turn the dial down until it's just a background hum. Light filters through the curtains in thin golden bands, striping the floor and catching the dust in delicate suspension. You watch those small particles swirl and shimmer in the still air, tiny fleeting constellations forming and breaking apart above the polished linoleum. The sight makes you feel something you can't quite name, a kind of beauty that's too quiet to hold on to. You fetch the vacuum from the hall closet, its metal body gleaming like a small machine of order and control. The cord trails behind you as you wheel it into the living room, your mechanical companion, your afternoon ritual. The hum will fill the silence soon, it always does. The moment the switch clicks, the room changes. The vacuum's voice rises, steady, deep, unbroken, a kind of drone that drowns out everything else. The ticking clock, the faint breeze from the open window, even your own thoughts, you guide it across the carpet, slow and deliberate, watching neat lines appear in the fibers, like the marks of a painter's brush, back and forth, back and forth. It's a rhythm your body knows better than your mind. A steady sweep, the roll of the handle against your palm, the slight resistance as the brush pulls against the floor. You lean into the motion, feeling it vibrate faintly, through your wrist, through your chest, until the hum and your breathing start to align. The noise is strangely comforting, not pleasant exactly, but constant. It keeps the air moving. It fills the gaps. You hum along without meaning to, the sound of your voice nearly lost in the machine's steady roar. You don't hum because you're happy. You hum because silence feels heavier than the dust you're trying to erase. In the reflection of the glass cabinet, you catch your own image, slightly warped, the edges soft and ghost-like. Your arm moves in smooth arcs, mechanical, tireless. It could be anyone's arm, anyone's life. The vacuum continues its song, swallowing up the small imperfections that don't belong. The house smells faintly of lemon polish and warm electricity. Somewhere the iron sits cooling from the morning, leaving behind a metallic scent that mingles with detergent and carpet fibers. You think about how much of your existence smells clean, how every trace of living must be scrubbed, wiped, polished until it vanishes. The evidence of effort must always disappear. You move toward the hallway, guiding the vacuum over the rug with slow precision. Each pass erases a thin film of dust, and you find yourself wondering how something invisible can still feel so heavy. There's a satisfaction in seeing the floor smooth and untouched again, though you know it won't last. Dust always returns. You think about the word clean, how it's supposed to mean something pure, something good, but here, it means control, it means quiet, it means nothing is all you. T of place, and therefore nothing needs to be noticed. The hum deepens as you shift the setting, the pitch vibrating faintly through your chest. You imagine it reaching into every corner, sweeping up not just dust but thoughts, the small, restless ones that settle at the edges of your mind, the ones that whisper that the house is too still, that the world outside moves differently. For a moment, you let your hand slip from the handle. The vacuum stands upright, its voice fading into silence. The stillness returns, thick and immediate. You can hear the ticking of the clock again, the faint chirp of a bird outside, the creak of the floor beneath your feet. It feels like the house itself is breathing again. Slow, careful breaths that fill the emptiness left behind by the noise. Ever. You sit down on the edge of the couch, still holding the handle loosely in your hand. The machine hums quietly, cooling down, the faint scent of dust and motor heat drifting up from its vents. The air feels oddly hollow now without the sound, as if the silence is too wide, too expectant. Through the window you can see the Ellsworth's front yard. Mrs. Ellsworth is kneeling in the garden, trimming roses, her gloves spotless despite the soil. Her husband stands beside her, saying something you can't hear. She nods, smiles, adjusts a flower. That was already perfect. The scene could be a photograph, a moment preserved in the glass of your window. You rise, switch the vacuum back on, and the hum returns like a curtain closing over the outside world. The sound fills your ears, your chest, your head, until thought itself feels far away again. You move from room to room, the living room, the hallway, the edges of the stairs. The cord drags behind you like a thin, umbilical line, keeping you tethered to the outlet, to the center of your small, immaculate universe. Each room has its own temperature, its own quiet smell. Soap, wood polish, faint perfume. You breathe it in as you work. Steady, rhythmic. The motion slows your heartbeat. The hum becomes almost oceanic. A soft roar that carries you somewhere outside of time. You imagine the vacuum swallowing not just dust, but everything small and fragile you've ever tried to hide. The sighs you stifle, the pauses between words, the spaces where your voice might have been. In the bedroom, the curtains sway slightly, touched by a breeze. The air here feels lighter, but the ritual is the same. You guide the brush beneath the vanity, around the bed frame, over the soft carpet where your husband's shoes left faint impressions this morning. You erase even those, each pass restoring the illusion of untouched perfection. When you finish, you stand for a moment in the doorway, looking back at the room. It gleams softly in the filtered light, the kind of clean that feels less like living and more like absence. You wind the cord slowly, wrapping it around the hooks with careful precision. The machine is silent now, its purpose fulfilled for the day. You return it to the closet where it stands, waiting among the dustpans and brooms, a quiet soldier of domestic peace. The house hums faintly in the background, a chorus of ticking clocks, faintly dripping faucets, and distant birdsong. You can feel your pulse in your fingertips, still buzzing from the vibration of the handle. You glance at your reflection in the hallway mirror. The lighting is soft, golden. You look exactly as you should. Composed, efficient, content, the kind of woman whose flaws shine and whose voice never rises above a murmur. You smooth your hair and smile at yourself, a careful, practiced smile. That looks almost natural, the kind that says everything is fine. In the distance, a car door closes. A voice, maybe your husband's, calls faintly from down the street. E-Day is shifting again, moving toward evening. You take a slow breath, inhaling the faint sweetness of lemon polish and warm air. The silence that fills the house now feels different, not empty but waiting. And you stand there for a moment, perfectly still, listening to the quiet hum of everything you've kept in its proper place. The clock in the hallway hums faintly as the afternoon light stretches across the living room. The air has settled after the soft roar of the vacuum, leaving behind the faint warmth of its motor and the scent of lemon polish that still clings to your hands. The house looks perfect again. Neat lines, smooth surfaces, nothing out of place. You pause by the window, watching the stillness outside, and realize it's almost time. Coffee. You smooth your dress again, the fabric cool and stiff from starch, and adjust the small string of pearls resting just above your collarbone. The reflection in the mirror looks composed exactly as it should. You reach for your gloves, the soft cotton already molded to the shape of your hands, and slip them on. The ritual of leaving the house feels both delicate and absolute, a small ceremony of presentation. Outside, the sunlight has grown softer, golden and forgiving. The neighborhood hums with faint, cheerful activity. A radio from a nearby porch, the rhythm of a broom brushing the sidewalk, the clatter of a child's bicycle skipping over cracks in the pavement. Everything moves gently, predictably, like a clock that never stops ticking. You follow the familiar path down the block, where each step feels measured, your heels clicking softly on the pavement. The sound seems to echo between the pastel houses, pink, blue, mint, each one slightly different, but all belonging to the same dream. The air carries the scent of brewed coffee and vanilla cake long before you reach the porch. Mrs. Thompson's house looks like the others. White shutters, trimmed hedges, a flag rippling in the mild breeze. But inside, there's always something faintly theatrical about it. Lace curtains, polished doilies, and a radio that always plays just a little too loud, as though trying to fill an emptiness no one mentions. You step Inside to the familiar chorus, greetings wrapped in sweetness, voices soft but bright. "Oh, you made it, dear. Isn't the weather lovely? You look so put together." Compliments flutter like paper decorations, light, harmless, endlessly repeating. The living room smells of coffee, powder, and perfume, a floral sweetness layered over the darker scent of something brewing on the stove. The table is already set. Delicate cups with gold rims, small silver spoons, plates of cookies, and squares of lemon cake, arranged with mathematical precision. Everything gleams. You take your place among them. The circle of women in pressed skirts and bright lipstick, each of them a portrait of composure. Their laughter floats above the steam like a practice melody. The sound of belonging. You join in softly, letting the rhythm carry you. The first sip of coffee is hot, slightly bitter, the kind of taste that demands a pause. You glance around the table, watching as each woman performs the same motion. Sip, smile, nod. It's a silent choreography, a ritual built from repetition and restraint. Mrs. Thompson begins the conversation with practiced cheer. "Have you seen the new mixers they're advertising on the television? They say you can whip cream in less than a minute now." "Oh yes," Helen replies, setting her cup down with perfect grace. "Bill said he might get me one if the store gets them in by next week. He's been doing so well at the office lately." There's a murmur of admiration, as though success itself has walked into the room. The women nod, smiling in unison, the kind of smile that exists halfway between pride and obligation. You add something polite, a few words about how remarkable it all sounds, how wonderful progress can be. The words fall from your lips easily, polished, smooth from years of use. They land softly on the table and disappear like steam. The conversation shifts, a current of gentle gossip and practiced interest. Someone mentions a new recipe from Ladies' Home Journal. Another describes the neighbor's new drapes. The tone never changes, light, pleasant, safe. The laughter never cracks. You listen, your smile perfectly measured, your posture straight. You can feel the warmth of the coffee cup through the porcelain anchoring you. Each sip is an interval, a small act of participation. You speak when you should, nod when required, and all the while your thoughts drift, not away exactly, but sideways, as if they're trying to escape through the thin seam between conversation and silence. You notice the tiny details instead, the reflection of sunlight in a teaspoon, the faint tremor in Helen's hand as she stirs her cup, the way Mrs. Thompson's pearls catch the light when she tilts her head. Every gesture feels rehearsed, every pause, every laugh timed to perfection. It's not deceit, not exactly, it's discipline. The room hums with contentment, the kind that feels slightly too bright, too smooth to be entirely real. You wonder if anyone else can feel it. That invisible tension stretched beneath the pleasantries, the small weight of expectation pressing at the edge of every smile. The radio hums in the background, low and cheerful, an advertisement cutting through the chatter. "Make your home the happiest place on earth. The modern woman's dream." The women laugh lightly at that, as though the line were a private joke they've all heard too many times. Mrs. Ellsworth leans closer, lowering her voice. "You know, sometimes I think they expect us to smile even in our sleep." The laughter that follows is soft but knowing. It flickers through the room and fades almost immediately, replaced by the clink of spoons and the sound of coffee being poured again. You look down at your reflection in the dark surface of your cup. The ripples distort it slightly, the shape of your mouth, the curve of your eyes, as though the person staring back isn't quite you. The steam blurs the image until it disappears completely. Someone mentions how fast the year seems to be moving, how busy everything feels lately. Another agrees, saying, "Time just flies when you have so much to be grateful for." You nod along, though you're not sure what busy really means anymore. The days feel both endless and fleeting, like the hum of a vacuum stretched across hours. As the conversation drifts, you find yourself studying the wallpaper, pale cream with a faint floral pattern, perfectly symmetrical. Your gaze follows the vines up to the crown molding, where the light from the chandelier softens them into almost nothing. It feels like staring at an echo. The laughter rises again, lilting and polite. Someone tells a small story about her husband's promotion, the dinner they had to celebrate, the way he toasted to the good life. Everyone claps, softly, smiling wide enough to show their teeth. You do too, though. Something about the applause feels hollow, like clinking glass that never quite rings true. A crumb falls from your plate, landing on the polished tablecloth. You brush it away before anyone notices. The talk continues. New draperies, PTA meetings, summer plans. The air grows warmer, thick with perfume. And coffee steam. The windows are open, but no real breeze comes through. The curtains stir faintly like they're breathing. You glance at the clock on the wall, just enough time left to linger, not enough to leave early. The sound of ticking fills the small pauses between words, precise and delicate. When the visit finally begins to fade, it does so gently. Chairs slide back, small compliments are exchanged. We must do this again soon. Such a lovely afternoon. You always make the best coffee. The script is nearly identical each time, and yet it's spoken with such care, such grace that it almost feels real. You step back into the sunlight, blinking against its quiet brightness. The air feels cooler now, the sky beginning to soften into early evening. Behind you, the laughter still drifts faintly from the open door, dissolving into the hum of the neighborhood. You walk slowly home, your heels clicking softly in the rhythm of a song. You can't quite remember. The houses glow in the low light, their windows golden, their lawns immaculate. Somewhere record plays, a slow romantic tune about forever. The world looks perfect again. And as you turn the corner toward your own shining doorstep, you think about how easily perfection can become another kind of silence. The late afternoon sun filters through the lace curtains at home, softening the edges of the day as you step into your coat. The street is quieter now, the golden light casting long pale shadows across the sidewalks. The houses seem to glow from within, windows reflecting the dwindling sun in gentle patterns. Your steps are measured, deliberate as you walk toward the car, the familiar scent of the asphalt mixed with the faint perfume from your gloves accompanies you as the hum of the neighborhood fades behind. The drive to town is smooth, the tires rolling over the freshly paved streets with barely a sound. Outside, the air carries a mixture of warmth and faint exhaust, the subtle tang of industry and commerce mingling with the scent of nearby bakeries. You notice the flags fluttering along Main Street, miniature promises of community and progress, and for a moment you imagine them lifting you above the monotony of the week. When you arrive, the store's front glimmers under polished lights, a beacon of precision and possibility. The glass doors part effortlessly, releasing a small chime, and you step into the world of controlled abundance. Inside, the air smells of wax polish, perfume, and something sweet from the cafe in the corner. It's a scent designed to entice, to soothe, to make the act of wandering among shelves feel like a privilege. Mannequins line the windows and aisles, their smiles frozen, their waists impossibly narrow, their postures eternally poised. You walk past them slowly, the polished shoes echoing softly on the tile floor. Each reflection in the glass multiplies you, an endless corridor of versions, each slightly different, each equally composed. You pause, studying the symmetry of your own movements, wondering for the briefest moment which reflection belongs to the real you. Then, you adjust your coat, smooth your hair, and continue. The perfume counters beckon, gleaming under soft spotlights. Bottles glint like captured sunlight, labels promising sophistication and allure. You lift a small bottle, feeling the glass cool beneath your fingertips. The scent rises delicately, light and intoxicating, curling around the edges of your awareness. You inhale, closing your eyes for a second, imagining the transformation the fragrance might bring. Not outward, but inward. A momentary escape from expectation. Gloves, scarves, and neatly folded linens line the tables, arranged with near mathematical precision. You trail your fingers along the fabric, feeling the softness of cotton, the smooth slide of silk. The texture reassures you, offering a sensation that is tangible and real, unlike the fleeting perfection you perform at home. A clerk approaches, polite and attentive, offering assistance without pressure. You smile, the same practiced curve of lips that greets every stranger in a controlled environment, and decline, preferring to wander, to touch, to absorb. Your reflection follows you endlessly, repeated in mirrored walls and polished glass. Each version is slightly altered, a different tilt of the head, a different curve of the smile, a slight shimmer of expectation in the eyes. You watch them all one by one until the motion of shopping itself feels almost hypnotic. Down an aisle of hats, the air grows warmer, the hum of conversation and the quiet shuffle of other women's footsteps blending into a soft chorus. They move gracefully, gliding past displays, whispering compliments to one, another, each as composed and rehearsed as you. A hat with a small curling feather catches your eye. You lift it lightly, placing it atop your head. The mirror reflects you, poised and correct, and you imagine the look it would bring if you wore it home. A brief defiance, a silent assertion that something could be chosen freely. You wander further past the cosmetics, the linens, the gleaming counters lined with silverware and crystal. The store feels endless, a labyrinth of polished desire. Somewhere a faint melody from the record player above drifts down, a soft, predictable tune about love and happiness, about longing fulfilled. The sound is comforting, a subtle guide through the aisles like the pulse of time itself. In the shoe section, the polished floors reflect your movements, making each step feel deliberate, almost ceremonial. You kneel slightly to inspect a pair of soft pumps, their leather smooth and cool against your palm. Why? Oh, imagine them at home, the click of heels echoing softly across linoleum floors. The fantasy is brief, a tiny indulgence, yet it feels enormous, a small rebellion hidden in the act of looking. The cafe smells stronger now, coffee mingling with the sweet aroma of cakes and pastries. A woman sits alone, at a table, dainty cup in hand, her gaze distant, lost in thoughts that aren't anyone else's. You imagine her life, separate from routine, from expectation, a life that moves at a pace unmeasured by timets or perfect appearances. You feel a flicker of longing, soft and almost shameful before brushing it aside. The aisles converge again, a river of movement and stillness, reflections and repetition. Another woman smiles at you politely as she passes, her purse swinging lightly at her side. She's exactly where she should be, performing her part in the silent play that envelops the store. You nod, returning the gesture with precision, acknowledging her presence without disrupting the current. You move toward the display of linens carefully arranged in soft folds. You run your fingers over the patterns, subtle embroidery, delicate stitching, and imagine the hours it would take to maintain such perfection at home. The thought lingers, heavy yet oddly comforting, as if acknowledging the labor hidden beneath beauty is its own quiet form of rebellion. A clerk passes, balancing a tray of samples. You lift a small cup of chocolate, letting the warmth seep through your fingers. The taste is rich, fleeting, enough to ground you for a moment in the real world. You sip slowly, aware of each sensation, the slight bitterness, the smooth texture, the way it lingers briefly before dissolving entirely. The mannequins stare from their displays as you move past, smiling eternally, unchanging. For a moment, the similarity between them and yourself is unmistakable. The reflection in the glass, the polished demeanor, the endless repetitions of habit and expectation. They are a mirror of the life you live, shaped and curated, displayed perfectly for the world outside. You linger considering the image, the ritual, the endless performance. Yet beneath the reflection, beneath the scent of perfume and coffee and chocolate, there is a quiet recognition. You are the only one walking, the only one breathing, the only one making the choice to pause, to touch, to notice. It's a small distinction, subtle and nearly invisible, Yet it anchors you in this otherwise seamless tableau. You wander toward the escalators, moving between floors like a ghost, gliding through layers of light and order, clothing, housewares, more mirrors. Every reflection multiplies you again and again until you feel suspended in a world of glass and polished surfaces. You reach the top and pause, looking down at the endless lines of display tables, the sparkle of glacier, the shimmer of textiles, the muted murmur of shoppers beneath. For a brief moment, you close your eyes and breathe in the layered scents, wax, polish, perfume, coffee, chocolate, sunlight. They blend into something almost tangible, a fog of desire and ritual, beauty and expectation. You let yourself stand still in the middle of the floor, feeling the quiet pulse beneath the perfection, the subtle reminder that all of this, the mannequins, the reflections, the measured smiles, exist to be observed and performed, not to be possessed. Finally, you descend the escalator, the polished steps humming faintly beneath your feet. The afternoon light fades slowly through the windows, brushing across your coat, your hair, your reflection in the glass doors. You pause for a moment at the threshold, looking back at the displays, the mirrors, the perfect mannequins with their fixed smiles. You realize with a faint tightening in your chest that you are leaving part of yourself here between the polished shelves, the perfume, the endless repetition. Outside the street waits in soft shadow, the sun dipping lower. The houses glow faintly in the distance, and the air smells of warm asphalt and evening dew. You walk back toward your car, the rhythm of your steps echoing, the practiced cadence of the morning. You adjust your coat once more, smooth your skirt, and imagine the dinner that will be waiting at home, the quiet perfection of your own space, your reflection in the car window shimmers briefly before disappearing entirely, leaving only you, walking in the gentle embrace of fading light toward the life you perform so well, the life everyone says should make you happy. The sun has begun its slow descent by the time you step back into your home, carrying the faint warmth of the afternoon streets on your coat. The soft hum of the neighborhood is quiet now, a gentle refrain of distant lawnmowers, the occasional bark of a dog, and the faint rattle of a car engine fading into evening. You close the door behind you and exhale slowly, letting the small click of the latch signal the return to your own ordered world. The house is still. The light has softened to a pale amber, slipping through lace curtains and casting thin golden patterns across the polished floor. Dust motes drift lazily in the sunbeams, illuminated like tiny stars suspended in air. The scent of lemon polish and warm air lingers, subtle yet comforting, reminding you of hours already spent keeping the house immaculate. Each step you take across the floor is measured, deliberate, the soft swish of your skirt brushing the linoleum, a gentle percussion. You make your way to the bedroom, your hands smoothing the fabric of your dress as if to iron out the weight of the day. The vanity sits, waiting, its surface gleaming under the warm glow of a small lamp. Perfume, bottles arranged like tiny sentinels, a mirror reflecting the quiet, composed figure that has moved so gracefully through the day. Today, as every day, the reflection seems both yours and not yours, a copy polished to perfection. You settle onto the stool and open the small drawer where your stationery rests. The paper is crisp, white, untouched, waiting to hold the words that will never leave the page. You pick up a pen, feeling the weight of it in your hand, heavy, reassuring, capable of holding more than just ink. It's a curious thing how something so simple can feel like a vessel for thoughts too small, too intimate, or too dangerous to speak aloud. You press the pen to paper and let it move almost automatically, the first words appearing in neat, careful script. Dear, it's an address to no one. Yet it feels urgent, necessary. The letter begins with small confessions, fragments of the day that would otherwise dissolve in silence, the way the vacuum hums in your chest long after it has been turned off, the brief flicker of longing when you paused at the department store mirror, the small weight of perfection pressing against your shoulders. You write slowly, deliberately, the nib scratching softly across the page. Each sentence is polished, measured, yet carries the faint tremor of honesty. You note the moments when you felt something stir beneath the surface, a fleeting desire for freedom, for a life unmeasured by expectation. You do not dare to name it fully. The letters are safe only because no one will read them. Outside, the light continues to shift. Shadows stretch across the walls, elongating familiar shapes until they become something other. A vase on the dresser, a perfume bottle, the delicate curve of the lamp's base, all softened, almost ghost-like. The quiet tick of the clock is rhythmic, each second a small, precise drumbeat that measures the passer of thought. The letter grows. You recount the small irritations, the subtle absurdities of your day, the polite smiles and rehearsed pleasantries that filled each hour. You speak of the perfection that surrounds you, the clean floors, the gleaming countertops, the warm-ordered rooms, and the strange hollow comfort it brings. The words flow, shaping a small secret world where honesty and form coexist only on the page. A faint breeze stirs through the open window, carrying the scent of evening roses from the garden below. It brushes against your cheek, lifts a strand of hair, and for a moment feels like the outside world intruding into the carefully curated perfection of your interior life. You pause to let the sensation sink in, the ink drying slightly beneath your fingers, the paper cool and heavy with the weight of what it holds. You continue writing, the letters forming a chain of unspoken thoughts that might otherwise drift endlessly into nothing. You tell of the quiet fear that sometimes accompanies the smile, the sense that every gesture is watched, measured, weighed against an invisible standard of happiness. You confess to moments of stillness that feel like rebellion. When you paused on the porch after coffee with the neighbors, or when you lingered before the department store mirror, letting the reflections multiply and fracture the image of yourself until it became something fluid and strange. The sound of the pen on paper becomes a lullaby, a gentle rhythm that fills the room. The faint rustle of the pages, the subtle scratch of ink drying, the soft sighs you do not let escape your lips. All these create a quiet orchestra that surrounds you. Outside, the evening deepens, the neighborhood settling into the slow cadence of night. A window opens briefly, a voice drifts faintly on the air, and then closes, leaving only the whisper of leaves and the distant hum of the world beyond. You fold the paper carefully, the edges crisp, the ink set. There is satisfaction in this act, in the neatness of it, in the certainty that what you have written will remain hidden, preserved. The letters are private monuments to thought, a quiet rebellion held within the discipline of neat folding, the safe concealment of drawer space. Each one is a small testament to the life that exists just beneath the surface, parallel to the life that everyone sees. You place the folded letter into the drawer alongside the others. The small stack grows over weeks and months, a silent archive of unspoken truths. You close the drawer slowly, pressing your hand over the polished wood. It is a gesture of containment, a gentle reminder that some things are meant to be observed only by yourself. The room is bathed in a soft fading light now, the shadows long and forgiving. You rise from the stool, smoothing your dress as you move to the window. The sky outside is pale, streaked with the last hints of orange and pink. The air carries the faint chill of approaching night, mingling with the residual warmth of the day. You linger at the window for a moment, looking down at the street, the rooftops, the small garden boxes, neatly lined along the curbs. Everything looks as it should, precise, controlled, quiet. Yet you feel deep in your chest the gentle pulse of a different rhythm, a tiny echo of what might exist if you let go of the invisible script you follow so diligently. Turning back, you take in the room again. The vanity gleams softly, the perfume bottles catch the last light, and the folded letters rest silently in their drawer. Everything is still, and yet in the quiet you sense a subtle continuity between the house you inhabit and the thoughts you keep hidden. One does not exist without the other. The perfection outside mirrors the confessions within, and the company. Confessions give texture to the perfection outside. You breathe slowly, the pen still, resting lightly in your fingers, as if it remembers its work. You feel the weight of the day settle into your shoulders, not heavy, but insistent. A gentle pressure that reminds you of your place in the rhythm of ours, in the quiet choreography of domestic life. Finally, you rise fully, leaving the pen on the vanity. The letters remain folded, safe, private. The house hums with a soft, almost imperceptible life of its own. The faint tick of clocks, the distant hum of an evening radio, the rustle of lace curtains stirred by a shifting breeze. You step back from the vanity, glancing once more at your reflection. The face looking back is composed, controlled, serene. Your hair is smooth, your posture straight, your expression calm. And yet beneath the surface, in the hidden spaces between smiles and folded letters, there is a quiet flicker of something that cannot be measured, cannot be polished, cannot be entirely contained. The light outside fades to a gentle dusk, the room now bathed in the soft, forgiving glow of evening. You move slowly, deliberately, letting the silence fill the spaces around you, listening to the quiet rhythm of your home, the echo of the day, the unspoken words that lie folded and waiting. And you know that tomorrow will come with its rituals, its hum of activity, its perfected motions, and that the letters will remain, a quiet companion, a testament to the life that moves beneath the surface, unseen but undeniable. The afternoon has folded softly into early evening by the time you hear the faint rhythmic tapping of small shoes on the sidewalk outside. It starts as a murmur against the stillness of the house, growing steadily into the familiar chorus that signals the end of the school day. You can hear the excited voices before the door opens, a mixture of laughter and chatter, a sound that seems to expand the walls themselves, filling every corner of the living room with life and motion. You stand at the doorway, smoothing your skirt, brushing an invisible crease from the fabric. Your hair falls just so, your smile positioned perfectly at the edges of your lips. The house is still waiting for this next wave of energy, and you are ready, rehearsed, prepared. The children burst in almost simultaneously, tiny feet pounding the linoleum, backpacks sliding from shoulders, books spilling into neat piles. Their voices tumble over one another, a bright, chaotic tide that is both exhilarating and exhausting. "Hello! Hello," you call softly, arms open, catching one child in a brief embrace, the other nudging past with a wave. Their attention shifts so quickly, from backpack to shoes, from stories to spilled notebooks, that you are left to observe a calm island in the middle of their storm. The room smells of grass, playground dust, faintly of glue and crayons, an aroma so different from the warm polish of the house. It is both grounding and strange. You guide them toward the table where a small plate of snacks waits. Cut up fruit, crackers, a modest, sweet treat. They swarm around, it with the energy of a spring breeze, laughing, recounting their day in fragmented sentences, half-remembered jokes, and excited exclamations. You listen, nodding at intervals, your smile practiced and steady, your hands move to straighten a fallen chair, to wipe a spilled crumb, to offer a small word of encouragement. Each gesture is deliberate, a dance perfected over countless afternoons. The chatter continues unbroken, and you notice the way their eyes sparkle when they're lost in their own stories. The house feels full, the walls expanding with the sound, yet at the same time there is a subtle weight, the quiet pressure of needing to remain composed, to be to be the anchor in the swirl of energy. You breathe slowly, letting the rhythm of their voices guide you, letting the minor chaos shape your movements like a gentle tide. You ask questions, soft and inviting, and the answers tumble out, a mixture of triumphs and tiny defeats. Test passed. A friend made a skinned knee on the playground. You nod at each Story, tucking in a stray lock of hair, adjusting a sleeve, offering a smile. That fits the exact moment, not too wide, not too small. The world outside. This room does not exist for them right now. It is only the room, the snacks, the warmth of your presence. The living room smells faintly of homework, crayons, and a hint of outdoors, mingling with the lingering perfume and polish that fills the air from the morning. You guide them gently to their chores. Shoes removed, coats hung, neatly, backpacks emptied. They perform each task with varying degrees of cooperation, laughter spilling over as one pretends to struggle with a zipper, another spills a small pile of pencils. You respond with gentle patience, a calm smile, your hands moving automatically to correct, guide, and support. The clock on the wall ticks steadily, each second marking the passage of time in quiet precision. You glance at it briefly, noting how quickly the afternoon has passed, how soon it will be time for supper, for the evening, routine that waits just beyond this room of noise and movement. Yet you linger here in this window between day and night, letting the children's energy wash over you, letting their bright voices fill every corner and echo softly against the walls. One of them runs to the window, pointing out something that caught their attention outside. A bird, a neighbor, a stray cat wandering the lawn. You follow with your gaze, nodding, offering a few words of acknowledgement, and then return to guiding the others whose attention has already shifted. Their laughter and chatter are unrelenting, a constant, cheerful tide. You notice the small things, the scuff of a shoe on the linoleum, the way a sleeve slides down an arm, the curl of hair over a forehead. Each is a small detail, a tiny imperfection in the otherwise perfect choreography of domestic life. And yet it is these small irregularities that make the scene feel real, alive. You allow yourself to take note briefly, before smoothing the chaos with a word, a gesture, a steadying hand. The sun has nearly dipped below the horizon now, and the light through the windows has softened to a muted gold, slipping across their hair and highlighting the dust motes that drift lazily in the warm air. You pause for a moment to watch them, the youngest clapping her hands in excitement, the eldest recounting a story with exaggerated gestures, the middle one tapping a pencil against the table in rhythm with the other's chatter. The scene is full of movement, yet there is a kind of harmony to it, a subtle, unspoken rhythm that you have learned to navigate over years of practice. You move among them, distributing snacks, adjusting chairs, offering small bits of guidance. Each gesture is both functional and ceremonial, a performance of care, love, and order. You are aware of the way your hands move, the tilt of your head, the inflection of your voice. Every movement matters, every word measured. Yet nothing feels rushed. There is a gentle cadence to this chaos, a flow that mirrors the pulse of the house itself. A spilled cup of juice sends a ripple through the group. Not a disaster, but a disruption. You reach for a cloth, dabbing at the spill, your fingers moving with automatic precision. The children apologize in a flurry of words, and you respond with calm reassurance, smoothing their small hands, guiding their attention back to more constructive pursuits. The disru Sean fades, absorbed into the larger rhythm of the room, unnoticed by the world outside. You glance at the clock again, the soft ticking, a reminder that evening approaches, that routines await. Yet you linger, letting their voices carry you into the quiet spaces between sentences, letting the small bursts of laughter echo gently in your mind. The warmth of the room, the faint scent of outdoor play, mingling with polish and food, creates a cocoon that is both comforting and confining. One child leans against your side, seeking comfort or attention, and you hold them briefly, feeling the small weight, the warmth of their skin, the soft brush of their hair. The sensation is grounding, tethering you to the present moment, even as your thoughts drift elsewhere, to the quiet letters waiting in your drawer, to the unspoken words that inhabit the spaces between routines, to the faint ache that lingers beneath every perfectly timed smile. The youngest begins a song, soft, a melody, half remembered from school. It floats through the room, tentative at first, then stronger as the others join in, their voices weaving together in a delicate harmony. You close your eyes, briefly, letting the sound envelop you, letting the rhythm of childhood, of innocence, of life moving uncontainably, wash over you. The song fades slowly, leaving a gentle silence behind. You collect coats, shoes, and books, guiding each child through the motions with patience and precision. The routine is familiar, predictable, almost soothing, yet within it there is always a flicker of unpredictability, a stray word, a spontaneous laugh, a sudden movement that reminds you that life cannot be entirely contained, no matter how carefully orchestrated. Finally, the children are settled with a snack at the table, their energy spent enough to allow for a brief calm. You sit for a moment in the quiet after the storm, the room still warm with the echoes of their presence. Your hands rest on the table, fingers lightly touching the cool surface, grounding yourself in the reality of this ordered yet lively space. The sun dips fully behind the rooftops now, and the light in the room softens to a muted glow. The house, so long accustomed to stillness and polish, is infused with warmth and vitality, even as order is restored. You breathe slowly, letting the day settle into evening, letting the quiet rhythm of your home absorb the noise and laughter, leaving only the soft hum of contented, obedient life. And in that moment, amidst the scattered books, the tiny shoes, the remnants of juice and crumbs, you feel the simultaneous fullness and invisibility that motherhood brings. A presence both indispensable and unnoticed. A quiet anchor in the ever-flowing current of small lives that depend on you. The house shifts subtly as evening deepens, the light slipping from golden to a muted honey through the lace curtains. Shadows stretch across the walls, softening the edges of furniture and familiar corners, creating a sense of warmth and calm. You move through the kitchen with practiced ease, arranging the dishes on the table, the aroma of roast beef and rich gravy filling the air. Mashed potatoes rest in a bowl, steam rising in delicate curling threads, carrying with it the faint tang of butter. Everything is ready, everything precisely as it should be. The children wander in from the living room, their energy now tempered, laughter softened into chatter as they settle into their chairs. Their hands are busy with small tasks, folding napkins, stirring glasses of water, brushing crumbs from laps. You place the final dish on the table, adjusting its position until it aligns perfectly with the plates already set. The radio hums softly from the corner of the room, a faint backdrop of classical music and gentle news, filling the silence between words with the illusion of connection and rhythm. Your husband enters shortly after, briefcase in hand, coat draped neatly over the chair. The scent of his cologne mingles with the evening air, a sharp, clean contrast of the softer aromas of the meal. He greets you with a nod, perhaps a smile, though it is brief, measured, functional. You return it with a practiced curve of your lips. The sick smile, carefully timed and polished. It is a smile that reassures, that signals calm, that shapes the atmosphere for the family, anchoring them in a routine they neither question nor challenge. You sit, placing the cutlery in its proper arrangement, the knife to the right, the fork to the left, the napkin folded neatly beside the plate. Your movements are deliberate, soft, precise. Each gesture a quiet assertion of control within the gentle chaos of family life. You glance around the table, taking in the small details, the tilt of a chair, the uneven stack of plates, the stray hair resting against a child's forehead. Each imperfection is noted and corrected with subtle, invisible care, a form of silent attention that shapes the rhythm of the evening. The conversation begins soft, predictable, comforting in its repetitiveness. Your husband recounts his day at the office in measured tones, stories of meetings and minor triumphs, delivered with professional detachment. The children interject with carefully rehearsed anecdotes from school, each one shaped by habit, by expectation, by the unspoken rules that govern what is appropriate, what is interesting, what is noteworthy. You respond with small gestures, nodding, murmuring encouragement, laughing at moments deemed amusing. Your voice is soft, measured, never too loud, never too insistent, blending seamlessly into the texture of the room. The meal proceeds in a gentle rhythm. You serve. The roast, smoothing the gravy, across the top, watching as it pulls just so, reflecting the light of the chandelier above. Mashed potatoes are portioned evenly, green beans arranged in neat rows on each plate. You notice the subtle curl of a child's lip as they take a bite, the quiet shift of your husband's chair as he leans back slightly, the faint gleam in his eyes when he remarks on the quality of the meal. Each observation is absorbed, catalogued, and gently responded to, maintaining the equilibrium of the evening. The radio murmurs softly in the background, a constant presence, filling any small lapses in conversation with sound. Advertisements slip between segments of music and news, promising happiness, convenience, perfection. You barely notice them, though their cadence matches the movements of your hands and the rhythm of your voice. It is all seamless, effortless, a performance of domestic harmony that requires no audience beyond the one already present. You glance at the children as they speak, watching the rise and fall of their animated expressions. Their excitement is tempered by the subtle structure of the dinner table, by the implicit expectations of politeness and order. You respond to each comment, question, and observation with careful timing, ensuring that the conversation flows evenly, that laughter is measured, that no one dominates the rhythm of the evening. You are both participant and conductor, shaping the atmosphere with a quiet, practiced hand. Between bites, you notice the small sensory details of the room, the warmth radiating from the chandelier above, the faint creak of the floorboards beneath chairs, the glint of silverware catching the light. The tablecloth is smooth, the napkins perfectly folded, the plates are lined. The subtle interplay of textures and light, of sound and motion creates a gentle, hypnotic rhythm that carries you through the meal. The children ask questions, simple yet curious, and you answer softly, guiding them towards safe, socially acceptable observations, shaping their understanding without drawing attention to the act. You marvel at how easily they adapt, how naturally they perform the expected roles, their smiles and gestures echoing the scripts they have absorbed without thought. There is a beauty in their compliance, a quiet poetry in the way they inhabit the routines of domestic life. Your husband's attention drifts occasionally, a glance toward the paper, a fleeting look out the window, a hand resting lightly on the table. You notice these pauses, subtle cracks in the facade of evening harmony, and you respond with softness, a gentle nudge to maintain the flow, to preserve the illusion of order and contentment. Your sick smile becomes a small anchor, steadying the currents of conversation and behavior, ensuring that nothing disturbs the carefully maintained equilibrium. The meal continues, punctuated by laughter at well-worn jokes, polite comments on the quality of the food, and the occasional moment of silence that is neither awkward nor uncomfortable, but designed almost ritualistically to allow for reflection, digestion, and the soft settling of energy. You notice the small flickers of individuality in each family member, a curl of hair out of place, a playful glance, a quiet smile, and you allow them to exist, gently smoothing around them without erasing their subtle expression. Dessert arrives, modest and sweet, a slice of pie, a small scoop of ice cream, arranged with care on each plate. You watch as the children eat, their attention absorbed in flavor and texture, the soft hum of satisfaction filling the room. You taste a small portion yourself, the sweetness lingering briefly, comforting yet fleeting, a subtle reminder that even the rituals of perfection hold small, quiet pleasures. The radio shifts to music now, soft and melodic, a lullaby. For the household, a gentle backdrop that carries the day's energy toward its inevitable close. You glance at the clock, noting that the slow approach of evening, the time when the house will settle into quietude, when the routines of care and performance will ease into rest. You rise from the table first as always, clearing plates with deliberate, graceful motions. The children follow your lead, helping in small, polite ways, their energy now tempered, their movement slower, more intentional. You move with them, through the rhythm of cleaning, the gentle scraping of plates, the soft swish of a damp cloth across the countertop, the faint clatter of silverware returned to its proper place. The meal concludes, the table cleared, the room settled into a gentle calm. You watch the children drift to their own spaces, still animated, still alive, yet more subdued, more ready to transition into the evening's quiet. You follow them with a final glance, a soft word here, a gentle reminder there, ensuring that the shift from activity to rest is seamless, unbroken and calm. Sitting back for a moment in the quiet aftermath, you inhale slowly, tasting the faint remnants of the meal and the comforting warmth of the house. The scent of roast, of butter, of polished surfaces lingers, a subtle echo of the day's careful choreography. You let yourself sink into the moment, the gentle rhythm of household life echoing softly around you. And as the children move toward bedtime, the radio hums its soft, steady song. The plates gleam on the sideboard, and the house itself seems to exhale, settling into the predictable cadence of evening. You place your hands lightly on the table, feeling the coolness of the wood beneath your palms, and offer a final sick smile for the family, for yourself, for the quiet Incy. Sense of perfection that shapes every motion, every word, every breath. The day continues its slow descent toward night, carrying with it the rituals of care, the gentle demands of performance, the unspoken expectation that you are happy, or at least that you look so. You remain at the center, calm, measured, composed, a steady presence in the continuous flow of domestic life, shaping and guiding the evening with the quiet, enduring authority of practiced love and discipline. The last clatter of silverware fades into a gentle echo as you place the final plate in the cupboard, the hinges clicking softly in response. The sink is empty, gleaming under the muted overhead light. The water gone, leaving only the faint scent of lemon and soap lingering in the air. The kitchen, once alive with motion and voices, has returned to stillness. You run a damp cloth along the countertop, feeling the smooth surface beneath your fingertips, and fold it carefully, creasing the edges until it forms a neat square. Each motion is deliberate, almost ceremonial, a quiet ritual that marks the transition from the bustle of supper to the softer, slower rhythm of evening. You pause for a moment in the middle of the floor, the quiet pressing gently against your senses. The refrigerator hums steadily, a constant mechanical presence, and you imagine it as a heartbeat of the house itself, reliable, predictable, and entirely indifferent to the flutter of small dramas that pass through it. The faint warmth of the oven has dissipated, leaving behind only the lingering aroma of roast beef and buttered potatoes, mingling softly with the sharper scent of soap. You inhale slowly, letting the mixture fill your lungs, grounding you in the quiet of this familiar space. The chairs are tucked neatly under the table, their legs aligned with exacting care. You glance at the placemats, smooth and spotless, and feel a small sense of satisfaction. The order is restored, the chaos absorbed into a system you understand and maintain. You run your fingers along the polished wood of the countertop once more, a faint thrill passing through you at the tactile confirmation of perfection, the smooth, cool surface, the slight warmth of the light above, the subtle vibrations of the refrigerator beneath your touch. Outside, the sky is deepened to a soft, inky blue. A gentle wind stirs the branches just beyond the window, rustling leaves in a rhythm that seems to echo your own measured movements. The distant streetlights flicker on, bathing the neighborhood in a soft glow, casting long, slow shadows across lawns and sidewalks. You notice the faint shimmer on the windows of neighboring houses, each one a mirror of your own domestic rituals. Curtains drawn, lights dimmed, families winding down after a day of polished routines. You move toward the pantry, checking for tomorrow's preparations, jars aligned in neat rows, cans stacked with precise symmetry, each label facing outward. The arrangement is a quiet assurance, a promise that tomorrow will follow its expected course, that the house will be ready for another day of ritualized labor and gentle performance. You adjust a jar that leans ever so slightly, the small act grounding you further in the mechanics of your world. The hum of the refrigerator fills the space, punctuated only by the occasional drip from the faucet in the next room. A soft, irregular note in the otherwise steady rhythm of domestic life. You lean against the counter, allowing your hands to rest there for a moment, feeling the slight vibration of the appliance beneath your palms. The sensation is comforting, mechanical, grounding. The house is alive in subtle, quiet ways, a steady pulse that carries you through the night. You think briefly of the children now upstairs, each air. Small beds arranged neatly, blankets tucked around them like miniature barricades against the world. You imagine their quiet breathing, rhythmic and steady, and feel a strange mixture of relief and longing. Relief because the chaos of the day has subsided, longing because their presence, even in stillness, fills the rooms with a vitality that is both comforting and slightly overwhelming. You begin to clear the countertops of the remaining crumbs, the faint traces of butter and bread that escaped your earlier attention. Each sweep of the cloth, each careful placement of a utensil back in its drawer is a continuation of the day's choreography, a soft affirmation that everything is under control. Even in this late hour, you are the conductor of quiet order, moving through the space with precision, a steady hand guiding the currents of the household. A small breeze drifts in through the open window, carrying with it the subtle scent of evening, damp grass, faint smoke from distant chimneys, the cool bite of approaching night. You close your eyes for a second, letting the sensations wash over you, letting the world outside brush against the carefully maintained interior of the house. The air moves around you gently, raising a strand of hair against your cheek, brushing your skin with softness, a reminder that the life beyond walls continues, unobserved but persistent. You notice the small details of the kitchen in this quiet hour, the sheen of the tiles reflecting the light, the faint shadow of the faucet stretching across the sink, the glint of glacier in the cabinet. Each object holds its own history, its own small imperfection, and you attend to them with subtle reverence. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint clatter of a dish towel as you fold it, the soft tick of a clock somewhere in the house. These become the soundtrack of your evening, a meditation in rhythm and routine. You sit for a moment on a small stool by the counter, hands resting lightly in your lap. The room is empty but not silent, filled with the echoes of the day, laughter, chatter, the scrape of a chair, the clink of a fork. You let the memory of these sounds settle into the corners of the kitchen, absorbing the residue of life that has passed through. The house feels full even in its emptiness, alive with the quiet energy of presence that has now receded into calm. The phone rests quietly in its cradle, a muted sentinel of communication that will not ring until tomorrow. You think briefly of the letters tucked away in your drawer, the private confessions that have no audience, no reply yet, carry the weight of a secret self. The hum of the refrigerator continues steadily, punctuating the silence with its mechanical heartbeat, and you imagine it listening, impartial and patient to every small thought you cannot voice aloud. You rise again, moving slowly through the kitchen. Your fingers trail along the edge of the counter, the smoothness of the surface grounding your steps. The floor beneath your feet is cool, clean, and familiar, each tile a small marker in the ritual of navigation you have memorized over years of repetition. The light has softened further, casting long, subtle shadows across the room, turning everyday objects into delicate sculptures of home and habit. A clock ticks in the distance, slow and rhythmic, a subtle reminder that night will soon claim the house completely. You glance at the sink, empty and polished, and feel a quiet satisfaction. The hum of order has replaced the hum of activity, leaving behind the faint scent of lemon, the residual warmth of human presence, and the mechanical heartbeat of your appliances. You notice in this stillness the way the light catches a small smudge on the counter, a tiny imperfection in an otherwise flawless landscape. You consider wiping it away, then pause, realizing that even perfection requires the occasional flaw to define it. The thought is fleeting, gentle, almost imperceptible, yet it settles softly among the familiar rhythms of your evening. The kitchen is quiet now, the movements of the day absorbed into the surfaces, the air, the faint scent that lingers. You let yourself stand for a moment in the middle of the floor, hands resting lightly at your sides, breathing slowly. The world outside continues its gentle, unobserved motion, distant voices, the rustle of leaves, a faint car passing on the street, and you feel the intersection of the domestic and the external, the personal and the mechanical, intertwining in the quiet pulse of home. Finally, you step back from the counter, smoothing your skirt and adjusting your posture. The dishes are stacked, the towels folded, the countertops gleaming. The refrigerator hums steadily, a constant presence, steady and unchanging. The house exhales with you, settling into the gentle rhythm of evening, the quiet after the performance of the day. You linger briefly, listening to the hum and the distant quiet, letting it fill the spaces inside. And around you, the world seems expansive and small at once, the weight of responsibility lightened by the order you maintain, yet heavy with the unspoken truths that reside in folded letters, unsent notes, and quiet reflections. You are both at the center and at the edge, present yet invisible, shaping the home even as it shapes you, and then slowly, softly, you move toward the next room. The living space where the day will continue, its quiet unwinding where evening routines await their turn. The kitchen remains behind, still and humming, a sanctuary of polished surfaces, mechanical heartbeats, and subtle truths, holding the traces of all that has passed through it today. The living room is dim now, lit only by the glow of the television set in the corner. Its soft flicker washes over the furniture, casting shadows that stretch and sway across the walls like dancers in slow motion. You sit beside your husband, the couch cushions soft beneath you, the fabric worn smooth in the places your fingers touch most often. The children are upstairs now, tucked into their beds, the house finally settling into a lull that is at once gentle and heavy. The air is tinged with the faint scent of dinner, butter and roast lingering, and the subtle warmth of the day's activity still clings to the corners of the room. The television hums, filling the quiet with images that are both bright and distant. A carefully curated version of the world. Women with perfect hair, men with neat suits, children smiling as though life has been arranged solely for their pleasure. The commercials flicker in rhythm with your own heartbeat, and you feel the pull of their promise. That happiness is simple, clean and easily purchased. You almost believe it. Almost. Your husband sits beside you, his posture relaxed but careful. He does not speak, allowing the images and jingles to carry the evening. A passive observer in the soft glow. You notice the way the light reflects in his eyes, the slight curve of his lips as he follows a narrative designed for engagement, entertainment, and reassurance. You do not interrupt. Your presence is quiet, a companion in observation, a witness to the domestic theater unfolding before you. You rest your hands lightly in your lap, feeling the cool fabric of your dress against your skin, the soft give of the couch beneath your weight. The flicker of the television creates a subtle pulse in the room, a rhythm that is almost hypnotic. Commercials for cleaning products promise sparkling kitchens and effortless bliss. Advertisements for detergents show children gleefully tossing laundry, mothers smiling with an ease that feels unattainable yet soothing. You inhale slowly, letting the sound and light wash over you, carrying a faint sense of aspiration, of ritualized satisfaction. The program shifts seamlessly, a sitcom, now laughter canned and repeated, characters moving through lives that mirror your own in exaggerated perfection. The women are always smiling, always poised, their homes immaculate, their patience endless. The men are calm, competent, confident, their presence a quiet reassurance of order and stability. You watch them, aware of the gap between their scripted lives and your own reality. Yet the rhythm of the images, the cadence of dialogue offers a kind of gentle, almost soporific comfort. You shift slightly, adjusting a cushion behind your back. Your hands move automatically to smooth the fabric, a small gesture of control in the softly chaotic glow of the flickering screen. The television presents a world that is both alien and familiar, a mirror of expectations, a reflection of perfection, a subtle whisper that happiness is not just desirable but obligatory. You listen to the canned laughter, the soft orchestral music, the gentle hum of applause, and you allow it to seep into your consciousness like a warm bath, filling the spaces that quiet alone might leave exposed. You notice the small details, the reflection of the screen in your husband's eyes, the glint of light on the polished coffee table, the faint shadows of the furniture bending and stretching with the flicker. Outside, the night has deepened, the sky, dark and unbroken, and the quiet of the street below presses gently against the walls. Inside the room is a cocoon, a bubble of light and warmth shaped by screens, by routine, by the quiet pulse of domestic life. A commercial for a new kitchen gadget flashes across the screen. The woman demonstrates it effortlessly, her hands moving in, perfect choreography, her expression serene, her household harmonious. You recognize the gestures, the implied routines, the ritualized steps of domestic labor made magical through editing and light. You feel the faint pull of desire, not for the object itself, but for the ease, the control, the satisfaction that it represents. You inhale slowly, letting the image linger in your mind, and then exhale, returning to the reality of your own hands, your own counters, your own small controlled world. Your husband shifts slightly, and the sound of his movement is a gentle punctuation against the low hum of the television. You glance at him, noting the soft rise and fall of his chest, the way his eyes remain fixed forward, following narratives that are not his own, yet resonate in subtle ways. You wonder, briefly, if he notices the small fishes in your own contentment, the quiet spaces where aspiration and obligation intertwine, but no words are spoken, and none are necessary. The television fills the room, carrying the weight of expectation, entertainment, and reassurance in its gentle, unrelenting glow. You allow yourself to sink a little deep, into the couch, hands resting lightly in your lap, body moving with the rhythm of the screen. The sitcom continues, characters moving through challenges that are always resolved, problems solved with smiles, apologies, and laughter. The world outside your living room seems distant, irrelevant. The sharp edges softened by the glow and hum of the television, by the comfort of routine, and the presence of familiar shapes and voices. The room smells faintly of polished wood, of butter, of lingering dinner, of fabric, softened by wear. Each scent combines to create an invisible tapestry, a backdrop for the quiet. Careful attention you give to the present. You notice the smoothness of the armrest beneath your elbow, the gentle warmth of the light on your skin, the soft murmur of dialogue that carries you forward without demand. Even as the images promise perfection, you feel the grounding reality of your own world, textured, imperfect, alive. A commercial for a detergent appears, the mother effortlessly managing laundry, children playing around her in choreographed joy. You recognize the choreography. You recognize the expectation. There is comfort in its predictability, a gentle lull in which your mind can Wander safely, tracing patterns, imagining futures, cataloging memories. You inhale slowly, letting the image imprint faintly, not as obligation, but as soft background to your awareness of home, of family, of order and performance. You glance at your husband. Again, and for a fleeting moment, the two of you seem to inhabit a shared space of quiet observation. There is no need for conversation. The flickering images and the soft hum of domestic tranquility are enough. You feel the pulse of the evening, the gentle rhythm of the home, the quiet assertion of control and ritual that binds the space together. The television carries these notions with ease, embedding them in light and sound, making them almost tangible. The program shifts once more, a gentle drama, with music rising and falling like soft waves. The characters face minor trials, always resolved by ingenuity, patience, or kindness. You notice the subtle gestures, the delicate positioning of hands, the calm inflection of voices. Each movement, each word is a demonstration of life conducted according to unspoken rules. Rules you know well, rules that have guided you through countless days of polished domesticity. You exhale, letting the patterns wrap around you like a familiar shawl. The light of the screen, a gentle lulling presence. Outside, the night presses quietly against the house, the soft rustle of leaves, the distant hum of passing cars, the occasional bark of a dog punctuating the rhythm. Inside, the room holds warmth, light, and the faint scent of dinner that lingers, a reminder of the day's labor and care. The television hums steadily, the images looping in gentle cycles of order and happiness, and you allow yourself to be carried along, your body and mind flowing with the soft tide of images and sound. You feel a faint smile forming, a small echo of the happiness promised by screens, by routine, by expectation. It is not quite belief, not quite illusion, but a recognition of the comfort in rhythm, the safety and repetition, the quiet assurance that life, though demanding, can be contained. Within walls, light and sound, the television flickers, laughter and dialogue weaving through the room, and you let it fill you with a gentle, almost soporific sense of continuity. The credits roll on the screen, the soft orchestral music swelling and fading, leaving behind the quiet hum of the set. You sit still, feeling the lingering glow on your skin, the subtle vibration beneath your fingertips, the gentle pulse of domestic life continuing around you. Your husband shifts idly, a hand brushing a knee, a small sigh escaping, and you know the evening is drawing to a close. Yet the comfort remains steady, persistent, quiet. You rise slowly, stretching arms, and back, letting the calm settle through your body. The room seems to exhale with you. The television's glow dimming in your mind, even as it flickers softly in reality. You step lightly to the side table, setting the small remote down, and allow the gentle darkness beyond the screen to mingle with the soft light still lingering in the corners. The night stretches on outside, vast and silent, while inside the careful choreography of domestic life continues to hum softly, promising order, routine, and a semblance of happiness, just as it always has. The quiet of the house is deep now, settling around the corners like a gentle fog. The children are tucked into their beds, tucked under soft blankets that smell faintly of laundry starch and the lingering sweetness of their evening bath. Their rooms are neat, toys, arranged in careful clusters, books lined up with spines facing outward, nightlights casting soft halos on the walls. You can hear the faint rhythm of their breathing, steady and slow, a delicate counterpoint to the silence that fills the rest of the house. Outside, the night has drawn its veil, soft and dark, with only the occasional glimmer of a street light or the distant flash of passing car headlights breaking the pattern. You move through the hall, slowly, each step deliberate on the polished floorboards, the soft hum of the house beneath you carrying a familiar weight. Doors are closed behind you, their latches clicking with soft precision, locking away the day's activity like chapters in a book. The Echoes of children's laughter and chatter are replaced with the faint whisper of the refrigerator, the residual warmth of the kitchen, and the lingering aroma of dinner. Eve. Everything is in its place, everything accounted for, and the sense of control this brings settles over you like a well-fitted glove. You reach the bedroom and pause at the doorway, allowing your gaze to sweep across the space. The bed is made meticulously, sheets drawn smooth, pillows fluffed just so. The room smells faintly of lavender from the small sash tucked into the dresser drawer. A scent you have come to associate with, calm with closure, with endings. The curtains are drawn, the light dimmed to a gentle glow, casting soft shadows along the walls and ceiling. You step inside, feeling the cool carpet beneath your feet and the slight warmth radiating from the radiator, a subtle pulse that reminds you the house is still alive, still breathing. Before the mirror you stop. The frame catches the low light in a soft gleam, the reflection within waiting, patient, honest. Your hair falls in long, heavy waves around your shoulders, and your hands move automatically to smooth it, brushing in long, even strokes. Each pass of the brush through your hair feels ceremonial, a quiet punctuation, marking the day's close. You notice the small tangles, the subtle variations in color where the light catches, and you attend to them with meticulous care. The motion is soothing, hypnotic, a soft rhythm that mirrors the pulse of the quiet house. Your reflection watches you as closely as you watch it. There is a woman there, graceful, composed, serene. She stands in a clean dress, her posture straight, hands poised, lips curving, and a smile that has been practiced, polished, perfected. She is the image the magazines promised, the image the television taught, the image your neighbors, your family, the world expected. You hold her gaze until the smile falters just slightly, a tiny quiver betraying the effort required to maintain it. You inhale slowly, letting the rhythm of brushing, the scent of lavender, and the soft glow of the lamp ground you in the present, in the ritual of self-maintenance, in the performance that is also your sanctuary. You turn your attention to the dresser, sliding drawers open one by one. Clothes are folded with exact symmetry. The fabric soft under your fingers, familiar, comforting. Nightgowns hang neatly on hooks, waiting for the gentle transition from day to evening. You run your hands over the materials, the cool silk, the gentle cotton, the faint texture of lace trim, each one a small connection to a routine that has defined countless evenings. The act is meditative, a way to slow time, to mark the passage from one sphere of existence to another, from the labor of the household to the quieter, private rhythm of night. The clock on the nightstand ticks softly, a gentle counterpoint to the hum of the house. Each second passes in measured precision, unnoticed yet persistent. You feel the pulse of your own heartbeat in response, a quiet echo to the house's rhythm. You move to the washstand, damp cloth in hand, tracing the contours of your face as you wipe away the day. The cool water touches your skin, leaving behind the faint scent of soap and a subtle feeling of renewal. You attend to each movement with care, slow and deliberate, letting the act of cleansing become a form of meditation, a bridge between the performed day and the private night. You notice the small imperfections, the fleeting shadows under your eyes, the tiny wrinkle at the corner of your mouth, and you smooth them away as best you can, acknowledging their existence without allowing them to disturb the careful balance you have cultivated. The mirror reflects not just a face, but a lifetime of rehearsed gestures, performed smiles, quiet labor, and moments of fleeting individuality folded neatly into the day's structure. You let yourself linger for a moment, tracing the outline of your lips with a fingertip, the slight tremor of a smile, the faint ache behind your calm exterior. Your hands move back to your hair, brushing and smoothing, arranging it in a style that is neat, controlled, and familiar. Each stroke is precise, each motion part of a sequence you have memorized over countless evenings. You feel the subtle weight of the brush, the soft tension of the strands, the way light catches in the strands and reflects softly into the mirror. You hold the reflection again, steadying the quiver in your lips, holding the serenity in place until the image aligns once more with the practiced perfection of expectation. The bedroom is filled with quiet sounds, the faint tick of the clock, the soft hum of the radiator, the occasional whisper of wind against the window. The world beyond is vast, unknowable, and yet contained by the walls that cradle you in order and routine. You feel the house exhale around you, the stillness of night settling into every corner, the careful symmetry of bed, dresser, and mirror reinforcing the gentle stability of domestic life. You begin to prepare for bed, the soft rustle of fabric as you slip into your nightgown, the gentle weight of sheets as you smooth them across the mattress. You notice the pillows plump and inviting and the covers neatly tucked. Each motion is measured, deliberate, almost ceremonial. The bed is more than a place to rest. It is a final stage, a soft enclosure for the transition from day to night, from the world outside to the private sanctuary of sleep. Lying down, you let the mattress cradle you, the softness of the sheets pressing gently against your skin. You inhale the faint scent of laundry, of fabric, softener, of the lingering aroma of lavender, and exhale slowly, allowing tension to slip from your shoulders, your back, your hands. The room is quiet, safe and familiar, a cocoon, formed of routine and care. A space where performance becomes private reflection and reflection becomes preparation for rest. You feel the weight of the day settle around you, the cumulative motions of meals, cleaning, care, and observation folding softly into your body. Each gesture, each smile, each small act of labor now lies behind you, catalogued, completed, yet not entirely forgotten. The night allows a gentle pause, a slowing of time, where thought can drift freely, where memory and imagination intertwine softly without the intrusion of expectation. Your eyes close for a moment, and in the darkness behind the lids, you see faint images, the bright kitchens, the tidy counters, the smiling children, the polished silverware, the flicker of the television, the careful smiles of your neighbors, the soft shadows of your own reflection. Each image flows into the next, forming a quiet narrative of order, of care, of the subtle insistence on composure. You feel the continuity of these moments, the soft thread of ritual that connects one day to another, one task to the next, one life to the shape it has been molded to follow. In the quiet, you allow a final gaze toward the mirror. The woman reflected there, serene, poised, composed, is still, steady, real, in the sense that routine and repetition have made her so. You hold her gaze, letting the faint tremor of your lips settle, letting the small private acknowledgement of effort dissolve into calm. The smile no longer shakes, it rests, composed, permanent, for the night. A quiet testimony to the careful, controlled life you inhabit, the performance that has become both duty and sanctuary. The house exhales with you once more. The night stretches beyond the walls, deep and soft, carrying with it the faint hum of distant life, the occasional whisper of wind, the subtle rhythm of streets and neighbors beyond your view. Inside the rooms breathe, still and orderly, awaiting the next day's rituals with patient inevitability. You feel the weight of continuity, the comfort of familiarity, the quiet assurance that even as time moves forward, the forms, gestures, and patterns that shape your life remain intact. And as you drift towards sleep, the gentle pulse of the household, the lingering scent of lavender and soap, the soft hum of the radiator, the memory of light and shadow from the day, all converge into a lullaby of domestic perfection. You are both observer and participant, subject and director, holding within yourself the quiet, enduring rhythm of care performance and the subtle unspoken demand that you appear happy or at least serene until morning returns once more. The house breathes slowly around you, each room exhaling into silence. You slide beneath the cool sheets, feeling their smooth fabric press gently against your skin. The scent of freshly laundered linen lingers, mingling with the faint sweetness of rose powder from the vanity a reminder of rituals performed and nights concluded. The bed cradles you softly, warm yet firm, a private cradle for thoughts that refuse to settle completely. The night has deepened, the quiet pressing against walls and windows, settling into every corner with a weight that is both gentle and persistent. Outside, the neighborhood rests in ordered rows of light and shadow. Street lamps hum faintly in their predictable rhythm, casting pools of muted yellow against sidewalks that are empty and still. The houses are dark, but for the occasional faint glow of a late night lamp, a solitary television flicker, or the brief flash of a clock's red digits. Somewhere, a dog breathes slowly behind a closed door. Somewhere else, the soft creak of a porch swing rocks lightly in the wind. The world continues in a rhythm, unobserved but constant, and why? You feel its quiet presence through the walls and the floorboards beneath you. Your mind drifts lightly, delicately, like a feather caught in a soft current. You feel the residue of the day's choreography settle around you. The hum of the vacuum, the clatter of dishes, the polite laughter over coffee, the glow of the television, the mirrored reflections of perfection in the glass. Each memory passes without insistence, a quiet procession that neither demands nor interrupts. You breathe in slowly, letting the scents, textures, and sounds of your home mingle into a singular sense of presence, a delicate layering of calm and awareness. The rhythm of your own body becomes more pronounced in the quiet. You notice the subtle rise and fall of your chest, the slight stretch of muscles relaxing into the bed, the faint pulse in your wrists as your hands rest on the sheets. Your fingers graze the cool cotton, tracing invisible patterns, and the motion, small and gentle, lulls you further into a space between consciousness and sleep. It is a liminal place, neither thought nor dream, a quiet corridor where reflections drift without direction, where feelings of order, labor, and repetition coexist with the faint flickering curiosity of inner life. The faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen reaches your ears, distant yet steady, a mechanical heartbeat that underlines the stillness of the night. You notice the subtle vibrations through the floorboards, a reminder that the house itself is alive, aware in its own way, and you feel a strange comfort in the constancy of it. The ceiling above is dark and soft, holding shadows in gentle folds, and you imagine the rooms beyond your own, the quiet bedrooms, the locked doors, the absorbed furniture, all breathing in synchrony, all waiting for dawn. You think of the children in their beds, sleeping in orderly stillness, blankets tucked Jews, Tissot toys, resting in soft repose. Their quiet presence is both grounding and distant, a gentle echo of the day's activity, a mirror of the life you have orchestrated. You imagine their dreams, wild or tame, and let yourself feel the calm weights of their stillness settling across the house. Somewhere beneath it all, your husband sleeps too, unaware of the meticulous rehearsals of the day, yet entwined in them, a participant in the quiet flow of domestic rhythm. A small draught drifts through the slightly open window, carrying the sense of night, air, dew on grass, faint earthiness of trees, the distant whisper of street, dust. You draw the covers a little closer, inhaling the cool, slightly damp fragrance, letting it mix with the warmth of your own body and the lingering smell of the day's perfume. Your mind floats, moving past the minutiae of labor, folded towels, polished counters, neat dishes, into a space that is unhurried, where observation and reflection drift in tandem without obligation. You notice the weight of the day and the subtle tension in your shoulders, the faint ache in your back, the slight stiffness in your fingers from repetitive movements. Each sensation is present yet softened by the enveloping quiet. You allow the tension to dissolve, gradually, guided by your breath, by the softness of the sheets, by the stillness of the house. The night absorbs you and the small, unremarkable beauty of order. The smooth line of a folded pillowcase, the faint glow of the lamp across the hallway, the soft symmetry of everything, in its place becomes a lullaby, a cadence that carries you toward that delicate border between thought and dream. Your reflection from earlier lingers in memory, a quiet imprint behind your eyes, The mirror is empty now, but you feel its echo in the calm line of your shoulders, the slight curve of your lips, the poised tilt of your head. You remember the practiced smile, the gestures performed in daylight, the repetition of rituals designed to maintain equilibrium and satisfy expectation. And now in darkness, these echoes merge with the pulse of the house, with the rhythm of your breath, and with the gentle insistence of night, forming a quiet orchestration that soothes rather than commands. Time seems to stretch, minutes fold into hours, yet the weight of temporal measurement is softened by the gentle rhythm of your surroundings. You drift from thought to thought with the ease of a leaf on water, sometimes noticing, sometimes letting things pass. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint rustle of leaves outside, the distant flicker of a porch light across the street, the soft cadence of your own heartbeat. The house breathes in harmony. With you, and in this shared rhythm, the day's burdens dissipate, leaving only the hushed pulse of continuity and presence. You imagine the world outside, in this hour, the faraway streets, the dimly lit windows, the sleeping neighbors tucked beneath their own blankets. Each house is a mirror, reflecting the same calm, the same expectation, the same ritual of daily life folding into night. And though you are fully aware of the performance that shapes your waking hours, in this quiet it does not press. It drifts like smoke, a gentle reminder rather than a command. You allow it to fill the spaces in your mind without urgency, without insistence. A quiet companion in the interstice, between wakefulness and dreams, the softness of the sheets, the gentle rise and fall of your chest, the quiet hum of life around and beneath you, all of it creates a rhythm slow enough to soothe, yet insistent enough to guide you toward a liminal space. You focus on these sensations, letting the tactile and the auditory blend, weaving together a gentle cocoon of awareness and surrender. Thoughts drift unformed. A fleeting recollection of the day's errands, the faint echo of children's laughter, the soft line of your husband's profile in the dim light. They do not insist, do not weigh, merely float and dissipate. You feel the last tendrils of wakefulness pulling away, replaced by the soft, unstructured space that exists just before dreams claim the mind. It is neither empty nor fully occupied, a place of quiet suspension. You let yourself linger there, feeling the gentle assurance of order, the invisible boundaries of routine, the subtle hum of continuity, all converging in a serene lull. You do not chase thoughts. You do not measure time. You simply exist, resting in the delicate tension between consciousness and dream, between awareness and surrender. The faint glow from outside diminishes as clouds shift, the occasional flicker of a distant streetlight brushing the walls. You feel the night pressing softly against the window pane, a gentle embrace. The house is full of quiet life, yet every movement, every sound, every residual scent is contained and familiar. You sink further into the sheets, letting gravity, memory, and ritual work together to anchor you in comfort. The pulse of the household, subtle, constant comforting, continues beneath your awareness, a mechanical heartbeat in harmony with your own. You think of nothing, or perhaps everything, letting the line between the two blur gently. The reflections of your day, smiles, chores, laughter, unspoken words, drift past like wisps of smoke, touching you softly before fading into nothing. There is a strange serenity in this space, a calm forged from repetition, expectation, and quiet observance. It is here in this liminal zone that you surrender fully to night, letting the house, the sheets, the air, and the subtle cadence of domestic life carry you forward. And so you drift between thought and dream, between wakefulness and the gentle pull of sleep. The quiet of the house enfolds you. The children breathe in their rooms. The distant hum of streetlights pulses in the night. The refrigerator continues its mechanical song, and you rest at the intersection of everything and nothing. Time stretches, soft and undemanding. You exhale slowly, releasing the remnants of the day, the weight of performance, the ache of care. Somewhere, in that space, neither fully conscious nor fully dreaming, you float, a quiet observer of your own existence, a participant in the soft rhythm of life that has carried you from dawn to dusk, through chores, smiles, rituals, and reflection. The house, the neighborhood, the quiet presence of everything around you guides you gently, a slow current that draws you forward. And somewhere between thought and nothing, expectation and freedom, reflection and surrender, you drift at last fully peacefully into the soft embrace of dreams. And that brings us to the end of tonight's walk through medieval life. Feel free to like, subscribe, or leave a comment with another forgotten corner of history you'd like explored next. If you'd like early access to more of these quiet descents into forgotten history, ad-free audio of the episodes, or just want to support the show, there's a link to the Patreon in the description. If you're listening on a podcast app, a rating or review helps more people find their way to these stories. And special thanks to the supporters who make this show possible, including our chroniclers Andrew S. and Rich Davis. Sleep well